Alright, welcome back to the channel. Last video you saw the painting of the chassis, and in this video you're going to see the assembly. So you saw me put the 3-point lift arms on, and I'm going through putting starter on at this point. I've got my oil cooler lines in. I'm going through and getting my injectors put back in so that we can get ready to get this thing started up for the first time in a long time. So setting the manifold and turbo up there, used the towel to prevent nicking any of my fresh paint. Alternator, got that thing put on there. I'll go ahead and clean up the radiator. So I just ran a wire brush over it lightly and then got it painted. Put on the steering column at this point, and I'm getting ready to get the radiator set. So I put my side rail on, had to finish up all of the hydraulic connections underneath the pump. So right here I'm getting ready to put on the radiator. You can see I had to take the panels on and off a couple times, so finally figured out how to get that thing in there the easiest without having to fight around the oil cooler. Got the air intake put on. Did a little work to the cab. I'm going to keep working on the side assembly on the engine here. Starting to get the brake assembly connected up. And then I've got my power steering lines. I put new hydraulic line on that, so getting those things routed. And rebuilt the seat, so cleaned up some seat parts and getting the new bushings put in there and go ahead and get the seat mounted. Got it anchored down. And then I'm back to assembly on the side of the engine. Got some fuel lines to get connected up. I had my rubber line on the side you saw just a second ago for the cab. And I'm working on the turbo inlet. So that's the oil cooler. I sank it in water to check to make sure that it wasn't leaking. Then I'm putting in a couple of stainless steel brackets to hold up the sheet metal on the sides, assembling the dash and getting it ready to be installed. All new gauges. Went ahead and put heat shrink on all the connections. So now I'm routing the wiring harness throughout the tractor, across the side to the starter, and then up to my alternator. Getting all that stuff tucked in there. Put the heat shield on the oil cooler lines. Putting on all the filters. Filled the engine up with fresh oil. And had to adjust the valves after it's hot, so I just put a valve cover gasket on there. Hooking up the rest of my fuel line right there above the starter's connection, so getting that squared away. And it looks like I was running the battery cable over to the starter, getting all that routed and tucked in. And we're just about ready for first startup. So I decided to go ahead and pull it out. So we're just getting prepped for that, getting some things out of the way. I'll bring the skid steer in here in just a second. There we go. Pull it out front and got my first start and checking out the transmission. Now I filled up the radiator with the water hose. Hadn't put any fluids in, and that's the first time tractor been moved and rolled around. So I went ahead and pre-fit the two side panels. I want to make sure that the front nose cone section was ready to tighten down in the right place. And here I'm putting the air cleaner in the hood and getting it bolted down and ready to be installed on the tractor's the bottom side, getting everything connected, and then the top.
Alright, so I'm back to assembly. Just set the hood on there. I didn't capture it on that video here, but I got my hood just setting, and we'll be going around and getting all the hardware in place. And side panel on this side only, I've got a cab to go on, so I got it sitting back there, and we'll use the crane to set it on. But I want to leave the other side panel open so that I can access the dash wiring, because I'll be putting the water lines up through the corner of the cab, and then also I'll have some electrical to run up there for cab lights and the heater, and then if there's an air conditioner that gets to go in, then we'll have everything that we need up there. So anyway, we'll flip over to the time lapse and watch some of this and go back on. Okay, so we've got the right side sheet metal all on, and I've fit the nose cone. I still got to put a latch on this side. Hood's fastened in place. I was going to leave the left side open so I can access for wiring and the water supply for the heater in the cab, but there's going to be enough room once this panel's on for me to access right through here, and then I've got that open too, so shouldn't have any problem fishing the wire up through there. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and put the other side panel on, and then that will get me squared away on this end of it, and then I'll be ready for the cab, which will probably happen here in the next week or so. I got it sitting back there. So anyway, back to the time lapse. Alright, so I got the left side panel put on. Got everything fitted. It turned out pretty nice. So I'm pretty much done with sheet metal at the moment. I've got to roll it in the paint booth, and we'll finish up the rims. And then once it's out and dried good, probably throw some decals on it, and then we'll get the cab put on, plumb it, wire it, put the roof on it, and then we're pretty much done with the project. So got a few more parts left, and that's pretty much for cab, and we'll be finished.
Please hit like and subscribe and leave a comment below. And make sure you turn on your notification bell so that each time a new video is posted, you'll be notified.